Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Infinite Crisis, Issue 5. Now, the significance of this book is this is the first appearance of Jaime Reyes as the Blue Beetle. I need to go back and see if I can find a inexpensive copy of Issue 4, because that's the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, and I think he picks up the scarab. But this is the one where he actually dons the uniform, and we see him as the hero. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about here is the fact that I am so still to this day sick to death of event books. You know, I understand why back in the day they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, because DC's continuity was just all over the place, because this was what, the early mid 80s when this happened, and they're trying to do, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, plus what they're trying to do now with Superman having different powers, yada, 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 different weaknesses from the Green Lantern Corps, all these different flashes showing up, the JSA, the JLA. I get it. They wanted to try to consolidate everything. But in doing that, they decided to let all that get haywire again, introducing that multiverse theory. And even our characters in this book, they're like, is that our Earth? I think this is ours. Which Earth are we on? And that's kind of how it feels. And right here, what made this book worthwhile for me, other than the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, is you see the hurt in Earth 2 Superman, which is Kal-El. Not Kal-El, L, with just an L. But anyway, you can see on this Earth how everyone has aged. And I kind of remember reading a synopsis of Infinite Crisis a long time ago, and I appreciate how Jeff Johns always tried to implement all the Golden Age stuff into his books, like the Legion of Superheroes and Superman, blah, 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 blah. It was good, but at the same time, it just makes things more convoluted. I did like how in Doomsday Clock, though, how he used Alan Scott as sort of the key of what caused the New 52 universe. So if you haven't read that, it's kind of an interesting little trip on how one little thing spun everything out of control into what was the New 52 universe. Now here we see how Booster is taking Jaime Reyes to the Batcave because he has the Scarab, which they've been looking for since the death of Ted Kord, and of a Shazam, which I'm not going to get into all the events. More events to understand this event. But this is where you first see Reyes as the Blue Beetle, and I apologize for the glare there. I cannot seem to get it off the page. But great artwork, don't get me wrong. And speaking of, we didn't talk about who made this book. And honest to God, I don't know where the credits are on this book. Let's put a bookmark right here and let's go to the back. Maybe it's one of those stupid things where they put the credits at the back. I hate when they do that. Back one. Back one. Yeah. There's one of those sneaky littles. So, this is Infinite Crisis, Issue 5. Jeff Johns writing, Phil Jimenez, Jerry Ordway, and Ivan Reyes doing the pencils, Andy Lanning and Jerry Ordway and Art Thibert doing the inks, Jeremy Cox, Guy Major, and Rod Reyes doing the colors. There's everyone else working on the book. And because there's 9 million people in this book, I'm not going to start talking about who created who because, yeah. Now, what irks my Girk is we get this one panel with Jaime, and that's it. Then we jump over to Superboy, Connor, Kent, and how you find out that he's related to Lex Luthor. And then, of course, Jones going back and flexing his Silver Age knowledge, showing why Superman fell in love with her in the first place, how she was just a go-getter, didn't take crap from anybody, even Perry White, her editor. But there's something that happens that causes this Superman to break, which causes our Superman of Earth 1 to hear that he's in pain. And then, again, I think I talked about this. If not, forgive me. I'm all over the place on this review. What was the saving grace for me on this book is the quiet moments. Each interaction with the superheroes of their alternate universes. Kal-El and Kal-El. and then Diana here. And of course, the Wonder Woman that we now know since Infinite Crisis, she can fly, but remember back in the day of the Silver Age, she had the invisible jet. And of course, she's aged, and she's wondering who this is, and she goes, my name is Diana Prince. And the fate of the universe is at hand, because Diana thinks it's her mother. And of course, here the interaction here between these two, and he blames our Earth's Clark for what's happening to his world. And of course, there's a couple of moments where we see nods to the original Crisis on Infinite Earth. Of course, Action Comics #1. Great panels, but just sort of like, oh, whatever. And of course, what I hate here is how, if memory serves correct, it's been a long time since I've read Infinite Crisis, but Alexander Luthor, I remember being heartful compared to his father. Like, he cared. But I hate how we come into April of 2006 and he's more methodical, like the Lex Luthor that we know. And I hate it. But there's one cool little thing that talks about how multiverses are born, what the key to them are. That's a nifty little thing that I want you guys to read. But anyway, moving on. Another quiet moment here with the Dianas. And she's talking about how basically had the same origin as our Diana Prince. She goes, when my Earth returned, my husband used the last of his strength to bring me to you. But now that I've left Olympus, the gods' blessings are fading. Soon I'll no longer exist. I don't have much time, and neither do you. Superman needs your help. Superman doesn't want any help from me. I didn't say want, I said need. You're here because I failed my mission. No, your mission is over. The gods are gone, the Amazons are gone, and your mother's gone. Then what do I do? You can start by trying to not be so perfect. You've been a princess, a goddess, an ambassador, a warrior. And all the panels are just great as we're going. But the one thing you haven't been for a very long time is human. And I like how Jeff Johns kind of recalls back to the controversial moment when she broke Maxwell Lord's neck. And it's true. During this time, the hero started to seem more attitude-y and brooding. So I'm glad that Jeff Johns brought that to the attention that, to a degree, we've lost what the Golden Age really represented of the heroes. And because everything's been so corrupted, look what's happened to our primary heroes. And then things start to get more convoluted, and this is where the event book kind of starts to take me out, because they should have stuck with the moments with Superman and Diana and how they're trying to save Earth, both Earths if they can. But then we have to start talking about how all these characters get together with Batman. Oh, we do get another panel of the Blue Beetle. Look at that. And then, of course, we talk about the Anti-Monitor again. Treading old water. And then, of course, trying to reenact the pages from the original Crisis on Infinite Earths and what Alexander Luthor is trying to do. And everyone feels like all hope's lost. And because this is an event book, they try to have other moments with other characters. Like there's this really great moment with Tim Drake and Dick Grayson, but it goes by the wayside because we have to event to show that another character that had compassion and would sacrifice himself back in the Infinite Crisis has actually gone insanely evil. And that's why I think when this initially came out, I had no desire to read Crisis on Infinite Earths, other than just being another event book. It's just, that's why I'm burned out. You don't have time for a lot of characters to breathe. You're jamming too much into one book. I miss back in the day when event books were sparse, and when they happened or crossovers happened, you would get excited because it was like, oh, maybe every year or 6 months you get excited, but now it's like you just finish an event and they're just geared up for another event on top of another event. And even going back and trying to read old events, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. But that's where I'm at. If you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and or wherever it is you have to get your comics and books, and grab yourself a copy, which I highly recommend getting 4 and 5 because of the Blue Beetle movie. This book is going up exponentially. It may eventually drop again, but just heads up. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little scarab bell next to subscribe, that way we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I will make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.